Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is March 25th, 2024, and today is Monday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the market's really mixed. But first, no major economic events scheduled for today. So looking at the various markets, starting out the Forex symbols, the major pairs versus the US dollar, really sitting on supportish level. We're going to take a look at that almost across the board. Now looking at the indices, they went completely in different directions. The Dow Jones selling off while the NASDAQ just inching higher. Now looking at commodities, gold and oil remaining unchanged. And as we look at the stocks, they're really reflecting the greater market. JP Morgan selling off while NVIDIA bounces back to its highs. Now, lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin recovering and inching higher, at least for now. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're going to start first with the Euro USD. It's on a supportish level, okay? Not a major threshold, but a significant enough, okay? A minor supportish level, and we're at 108. Now, what's interesting is we're seeing this across the board, almost all the major pairs. The GBP USD also on the bottom of its range on a 200-day major supportish level. 200-day moving average supportish level, that's very important, especially since we're looking at a daily. So that's really important there. Looking at the Australian dollar, also on supportish level. And if we jump into the Canadian dollar, also on its resistances level. Remember, it's USD CAD as opposed to CAD USD, so it's on its supporters level versus the dollar as well. Okay. Now looking at the Japanese yen, it's back to its lows, didn't break out lower. Now I'm going to look at all these because at a certain point, if there's some sort of breakout, I want to know about it because it's going to affect almost all of them, and that's really very important. Trading sideways, okay? This is a separate, completely different kind of trade. Looking at the Turkish Lira, we had a major correction last week, okay? Relatively for the Turkish Lira, okay? We see that on a 4-hour chart. It looks like it's crazy, right? Going from 32.36 down to 31.70-ish level, okay? That's about 50 pips. And then we're getting back to that 50% level. Now, question is whether or not this is just a correctional move and we're going to go right back to our lows, or this is tapering off move. Yet to be seen. Okay, so at this level, okay, if we look at a daily chart, hasn't breached its 30-day moving average, so we're all good in terms of that. But we did dip significantly under the 8-day moving average, so I'm a little bit cautious about this moving forward, okay, in terms of its upwards momentum. I could be proved wrong, but I like to play things defensive, offensive, as opposed to offensive defense. Now, jumping into commodities, not doing much. Gold and oil really just tapering off. Gold is having a really hard time sustaining its upper level or moving higher. If you look at crude oil, tapering off just a little to 80.90, okay? So that's really unchanged from day to day, okay? But it's still trading above its $80 a barrel level, which is really important. Now, jumping into the U.S. markets, this is where it gets very interesting. The Dow Jones did sell off. You can't see it so much here. Here, on a 4-hour chart, you can see it a little bit better. We hit 40,300-ish level. We're dipping about 600 points, okay? So that's significant for the Dow Jones. Just be aware of it. Now, looking at the NASDAQ, we just didn't even taper off. We actually moved higher and then tapered off towards the end of the day. So it looks like as if we tapered off, but really we just inched higher altogether. Now, looking at the individual stocks, Apple going through a lot of headaches right now as they're being sued for antitrust and all that stuff with the U.S. government. So this is going to be kind of interesting moving forward. This reminds me very much of another company back in the day, Philip Morris, which is the famous tobacco company, which was also sued by the government. It gets ugly, but the stock does recover. So just eventually it will recover, may actually pose itself, and it may sell off even more, and it may pose itself a great buying opportunity for the long term. And you guys always ask me, give me something long term, look at something long term, and this may really be it. Apple's not going anywhere. Okay, moving right along. Which stocks moved higher? Let's take a look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA really pushed almost back to its all-time record highs. Now, it is, all intents and purposes, just off of its highs, about $30. In NVIDIA terms, not a big deal, okay? It's a stock that went from $200 to $900, okay? So it's still amazingly moving higher. Now, looking at the individual stocks, Google, gap up, and a second gap up. Remember, this was one that we kind of were very cautious about after its first gap up. It looked like it was going to close it. Didn't. And we made a second gap up. Okay, so showing some strength there. If we look at Facebook, very strong, off of its highs by just about 15 points. If you look at Microsoft, almost on its record highs. And I believe it gapped up to its highs to 430 and then just tapered off. Okay, so showing some strength there as well. And as we look at JP Morgan, this is why the greater market, the Dow Jones, did sell off. It's off of its highs, didn't hit $200. Okay, this is really very interesting because we thought it was going to hit $200. It didn't. So keep that in mind. It's just selling just below it and taking some profit at these levels. Okay, so how far could this thing retrace? Well, I don't know, to tell you the truth, because where would you call 50%? Okay, this has been a run up since last November, okay, of 2023, and this has just continuously gone up since then, from 136 up to $196. Amazing move for JP Morgan in just a half a year. Now, this is the backdrop of the interest rate hikes and the inflationary numbers, and this is what happens. Does this mean it's the end of JP Morgan? Perhaps, for its run up, because in the next 6 months or the next 3 months, we may anticipate the Fed actually decreasing interest rates or signaling they're going to start decreasing interest rates, which will affect JP Morgan because it'll mean that it won't receive those big interest rate hikes that it gets from its clients, the retail clients. So keep that in mind as that continues. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.